before we dive into it, though, I did kind of, like I said, I kind of wanted to get a sense for where you stand currently with your Star Wars fandom. I was really interested in the sequel trilogy. I know you and we talk a lot about a lot of things. I
Yeah.
don't know that we've ever had too deep of a conversation around the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Like I said, we podcast about Doctor Who.
Yep.
Sometimes we'll, record an episode of Bad Wolf Radio, and then we'll stick around and talk about other nerdy stuff. So I know we've talked about the sequel trilogy some, but I'm kind of curious. I can't remember. Are you a fan or not of the sequel trilogy, or where do you stand on those three movies?
See, and I feel like this is where I'm gonna lose friends
Well, you'll
because
lose friends and gain friends because it's a very split thing in Star Wars fandom. There's no right or wrong answer to this question. I would say it is very split. It's almost like half of the people say they're a waste of your time, and then other half people say, oh,
yeah,
they're great. So,
totally get it. Totally get it. I enjoyed them. Did I agree with every single decision that was made? Do I agree with the direction that some of the characters went? No. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. And thinking back through a lot of it, number one, I think just the spectacle all of it, the excitement, the experience. Also, it was watching through it with my kids, taking them to the theater and experiencing it with them. So there's a lot that was wrapped into it, that I think created those positive moments, those positive experiences. But again, there's stuff that I still kind of just like shake my head and wish it didn't happen the way that it happened. Certain decisions that were made that I don't necessarily like, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I still enjoyed it. In fact, we're watching through Marvel movies right now as a family, so that has been an experience. But my family is like, hey, can we pause and rewatch the Star Wars, the last three Star Wars movies again? It's like, okay, yes, I want to do that again, but we need to make it through here first. They all just have a very special place in our family when it comes to the movies. So,
hmm.
long answer, short, yes, I did enjoy them. Um, yeah,
I really like, so for me, and I've talked about it on the show before, so I won't spend too much time recapping what I like and don't like about the sequel trilogy. But The Force Awakens was a big highlight for me. I loved that movie, and it was kind of the return of Star Wars, and I've really enjoyed pretty much every character that they brought into that. And there was just the potential for what the trilogy was going to become. So you kind of
yeah,
leave that movie with high hopes. I wasn't as much of a fan as for the next one, like The Last Jedi. Um, just the direction they went with it was just completely different than what I had hoped. And so it was definitely a disappointment, but I definitely appreciate different moments in that film. Uh, so I wouldn't say overall I don't like that film, but it was kind of the down point for me in the trilogy. And then obviously The Rise of Skywalker as a finale did some things I really liked, also did some things I did not
yeah.
like. But in the end, like you said, overall, I enjoyed the trilogy and enjoy rewatching them. Pretty often like to turn them on and just have it on in the background. Some of my favorite Star Wars moments happen in all three of those movies.
I mean,
So,
some of the way that each one of them was shot, and just some of the just scenes, the picturesque moments that they capture, the contrast of colors that you see in some of the stills that people will just stop. It's kind of awe-inspiring, right? Like, they were, all three of them were beautifully shot movies. I think all of them have that going for them, at least.
right. And I know I see the flaws people pick out. I
Yeah.
see them. I'm not blind to it. I get
Yep.
why people have issues with these movies, and even just the kind of idea that the story is not cohesive. There was, it didn't seem like they got everybody into a room and said, "Hey, this is the
Right.
storyline that we're going to follow." It
Yeah.
was almost like, "All right, let's make one and see what happens."
Yeah.
And having J.J. Abrams do the first one, then Ryan Johnson, and then they bring J.J. back, and there was supposed to be another guy, and so I get the issues, but at the same time, it's like, hey, make the best with what you get, right? And
Yep. Yeah.
it's better to have a positive attitude than a negative attitude typically with these type of things.